In this unit, we are discussing how conventions of language use differ across different varieties of English. One aspect in which different varieties of English differ from each other is in the use of conventions of politeness. In Asian languages, we see use of different grammatical devices, ranging from phonological devices to morphology, lexical, and even sentence structure for the use of or for adding politeness to the language. Along with these grammatical devices are different word choices, ending sentences or words in a particular way, using different stress and intonation when speaking. Along with all these grammatical devices, discourse strategies are also used in Asian cultures to show respect and deference for the interlocutors. So in Asian languages, respect for specific addressee or referent is showed by using sets of honorific pronouns. For example, in Urdu and also Hindi, we use different pronouns for elders and different pronouns for people who are younger to us. Similarly, the choice of pronouns then is the ending of the verb is then dependent on the choice of the pronoun, and different lexical sets are used because one pronoun goes with a certain ending, etc. The whole lexical set will be different depending on who your addressee is. So this choice of one lexical set is constrained by the choice from another lexical set. For example, let's take a look at these examples from Urdu, and they also equally apply to Hindi. When we address an elder person or somebody we are not very close with, when we tend to add formality in our language, we address the other person as aap. When there is more familiarity or when there is not much age difference, etc., we can use the pronoun tum. And when the degree of formality is really high, when you are really very close friends with somebody, you can use the intimate pronoun tu. Now, when you use these pronouns, aap, tum, or tu, when you make a choice among these pronouns, the verb endings will also be constrained by your choice of these pronouns. For example, when you address somebody as aap, you will use the verb ending as hain. Aap kya karte hain, for example. When you address somebody as tum, you will say tum kya karte ho. And if you address somebody as tu, suppose it's a very close friend, tu kya karti hai. But you cannot use aap with hai. Aap kya karti hai will be incorrect. Similarly, tum kya karti hain will be incorrect. Ya tu kya karti hain will be incorrect. So when you make a selection from one lexical set, when you select, let's say, a pronoun like aap, which shows a lot of respect to the addressee, you'll have to make a correct selection and appropriate selection from the verb endings, from the verbs which go with the respective pronouns. Similarly, in Korean, we make these lexical choices. Particular words are used which attach different degrees of politeness with them. Sinsi, I believe that's how it's pronounced, is an honorific term, and pap is plain. It's not. It doesn't include any element of respect. The word actually means meal. Similarly, there are different words which are used when you want to show respect. When you address somebody who is elder or who you want to show some respect or maintain some degree of formality with them. And when you do not have this degree of formality involved, you'll use a different term to express the meaning name. So this is about Asian languages. American language, for example, English as well, British English as well, they do not have these linguistic choices which show politeness. They are more egalitarian kind of languages, based more on equality among people. So they do not have these linguistic choices when it comes to expressing politeness. However, they do use certain discourse strategies which are based on politeness considerations, whereas in Asian languages or in Asian cultures, we use grammatical devices as well as discourse strategies. As a result of contact of people from different cultures all around the world with English, assimilation and change of conventions taking place. For example, we can see that in our own country, the conventions are changing. There was a time when you wouldn't address an older person by their name, but this has changed in our culture now. For example, at work, you do address your colleagues even if they are older than you by their first name. And similarly, in English culture, etc., there's a convention that you would always address your faculty members, your teachers as sir or madam. But this convention is slightly changing in our culture too. Behind your back, they can call you whatever they want, but even to your face now, instead of sir or madam, they can address you as Mr. So-and-so or Dr. So-and-so, etc. So these systems are undergoing this change under the influence of English. Assimilation of cultures in the convention of the use of language in speech is taking place. Another example is from India. Indians tend to use this element now whenever they want to show agreement. Normally, when you want to show agreement, you say yes, but so this is partial agreement or disagreement. When you want to, for example, disagree, even then you start with a yes. And when you want to show agreement, then of course you start with a yes. But in Hindi, we see the use of this element no, even when you want to express agreement. So let's take a look at this dialogue. One person is saying to the other, do you think it, referring to wife views, do you think it is common? B says, in India, in rural families, this is common. And C says, no, it's common, although the intention was the real convention of language use that is used in majority of the languages is yes, it's common when you're showing agreement. But in India, even when you are showing agreement, you start with the element no. So this is very specific to Indian culture. So no, it's common, very much common, even in very literate families. So this is a very strong agreement that starts with a no. So we see these differences in the conventions of language use across different varieties of English, which create a lot of variation in the Englishes which are used in outer and expanding circles.